So for starters, guys, you want to make sure you've got some clean pickling cucumbers, and you want to cut the ends off. You don't want to leave those ends on because the ends can make the pickles go soft when they're canned. So now you can either throw a whole dill pickle like so. You could cut them into little slices like the sandwich slices or the long sandwich slices, or these ones I'm going to do in spares. So you're going to cut right down the middle for this. This step, it's really your preference. Cut it the way you want, leave it the way you want. You're still going to do the following step the same once all is said and done. Every step is going to be the same. It's just going to be a matter of different types of pickles that you're leaving in. So I do have some that I left just whole to have the big dill pickles, and I'm doing some in spares. I've done plenty of sliced and everything else, but we're just trying to get a couple varieties going. My kids eat these kinds a little bit more frequent, and we also will bread these sometimes and do fried pickles, so it works either way. So once you're done cutting them all up, you're going to put salt over them. I don't do an exact measurement. I make sure it's kosher salt or pickling canning salt. I don't have any pickling salt left, so I've just got the coarse kosher salt. I'm gonna put salt over them. Notice we did a lot of pickles, guys, so we're gonna put some over there. I do it over the whole ones too. This helps draw that extra moisture out of them. And then you're going to add water. And then just let it sit for about 3 to 4 hours and let the moisture in the water drain out of those pickles, so that way they aren't, pickles are just full of water. You want to drain that out so that they get a little bit more crisp, so when you can them, they're not just full of water. So we're gonna throw that water on these and just let them sit. So guys, I forgot. I didn't turn on the camera when I was mixing up the brine and all that stuff. But step 2, once the pickles have marinated in the salt water for at least 4 hours, you're going to rinse those pickles off. You're going to start your brine. Your brine for 2 quarts, so multiply that up as you need to. While that's heating up, you're sterilizing your jars, put them in your canner, and start warming up that water so that way those get sterilized and warm for the packing process. Okay guys, so once you got your sterilized jars out, you're going to put a clove of garlic into each jar. These things are hot. They're on top of a towel because you don't want to put them on a cold countertop because they will break then. You're going to do 1 teaspoon of mustard seed into each jar. Now obviously you're going to do everything in half if you're doing pints. You could do just 1 garlic clove still, because in quarts you normally could, like most recipes say, put a whole clove in for a pint and 2 cloves in for a quart. I just do 1 clove and I think that's sufficient, but that's up to you. Then you're going to do 2 teaspoons of the dill seed. Or if you have fresh dill, you can always put fresh dill in too. I just don't feel like pulling the fresh dill out right now, so we're just using the dill seed. Your clean pickles. I use wide mouth jars for the whole pickles especially, because otherwise it's very hard to get them in there. It's still not easy to get in there when these pickles are huge. I'm getting an average of 3 pickles per jar. Be a little bit of each in there. Home canning, that's something that's just the beauty of it. It doesn't all have to be a whole pickle. Might as well fill those jars up to their max instead of having partially full jars on your shelf. Because the brine and everything else has to be in there anyway. So we got our cut pickles. And that should be our full pickles. You're going to leave a 1/2 inch of headspace. That's our first one. Now, after you've filled up all your jars, you're going to put your canning lids on. Ball no longer recommends or says that you have to boil your lids, so just make sure they're clean, they're sterilized, they're at least cleaned, and then you put your lids on. Bands are only going to get tightened finger tight. I typically don't, but you can wipe your rims to make sure they're clean. I don't really have an issue with that usually, so I don't normally worry about it. But we're gonna put those bands on and rings and, well, lids and rings, and we're gonna get this into the water bath. Now, if you know you did get something along those rims, take a rag and at least wipe them down. Some people will put white vinegar on that rag when they do that to help eliminate the grease buildup. That's totally up to you. Finger tight. That means you don't need to hold on to the jar. No cranking down. Just basically put it on, make sure it's straight, so I don't have any issue with, and tighten it till it starts to spin. Because if you go too tight, your lids will buckle, and you'll make it hard for that air to escape as it's water bathing, because that's the whole thing with the pressure canning, or with getting the pressure, like canning, is you're vac sealing it. You want to get the air out of the jar to vac seal it. I usually, for good measure, once it starts to turn, I'll put my finger on it, do one more little partial turn, and then I call it. So once your jars are in the canner, make sure the water is covering the lids by at least an inch. And then once it's boiling, put the lid on, and you're going to process them for 15 minutes in the rolling boil. Now once you've taken out your relish from the water bath, you're going to put it onto a towel. Again, you don't want to put that hot jar on the cold countertop. You want to put it on a towel to help diffuse that heat. Sometimes if you put the lid on a little too tight, you'll get this where it's kind of bubbled up. Usually that'll pop down and still seal, so you're just kind of going to have to do the waiting game on that. But once it's out, you're just going to leave it for 24 hours at minimum. But once that's all said and done, you're going to, I'm going to take these ones because they're cool, they're not ready to check yet, and take the ring off. Don't store it with the ring. Not only does that put pressure on the seal and possibly cause it to open and unseal too soon, but it also can cause a false seal, because this thing can unseal, and then if it's got the right pressure in the room, the heat in the room, it can re-seal even if it's already been unsealed and bad and bacteria has gotten in there, because that lid is going to push it back down. So take the ring off, and then you're going to lift it up by the lid and just check and make sure that that lid doesn't come off when you lift it. If it stays on, it is a good seal. So then you're good for at least 16 months. At least 16 months. Ball now says a year and a half. They now say a year and a half. So that's 18 months. 18 months, not 16 months. Some people will eat things 3, 4, 5 years later. So that's all a matter of opinion, but Ball says a year and a half. Happy canning, guys. Stay safe. Stay sane. Catch you on the next one.